Welcome to 10 News, and this is Adam Gostinek with the news. There has been a breaking report in Afghanistan where there's been another bombing in the center of Kabul. There's been over 17 deaths and 35 casualties. This may have been another suicide attack by the Taliban. There'll be more details after this commercial.
Bacon, 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 McMuffin with egg and bacon. Come and taste the bacon at Macca's, we're busy making bacon and egg McMuffin, a tasty breakfast treat, yeah!
And now we're back, and we have a special news reporter in Afghanistan right now who will tell us all the details about this bombing. Here is Michiel Solvik.
Here you are looking at the remains of what used to be a school. These pieces of brick were part of the school. The school is central for the region that had about 500 students. And girls were also educated here. This is why the Taliban has destroyed the school and gotten rid of education for a big region. The school educated girls, and according to Taliban beliefs, that is illegal. It is a shame.
And now here's an interview with Michiel Stolvik and Afghan specialist Ko Asakura.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have an expert on the recent history of Afghanistan. And first of all, we all think of Afghanistan as a wrecked country and terrorism and all that stuff, but really it has a pretty rich history, and it's a nice country, to be honest. And today I have Ko Asakura here. He's an expert. How are you today?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good too, thanks. So, it is wonderful to be in a nation with such a rich history. And could you tell us a bit more about it?
Yes. As you probably do not know, actually, Afghanistan has been a monarchy until 1973, where the Prime Minister Daud held a military coup to abolish the monarchy. He created Afghanistan Republic and did not only name himself president, but also prime minister.
And how was living like in this new republic?
Well, to be honest, it didn't really last very long. A mere 5 years later, Daud was killed and replaced by the PDPA, which stood for the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan. And they established the Democratic Republic of Afghanistan. But however, this republic was not as democratic as it sounds.
Oh, and is this when the communist and socialist changes took place?
Exactly. For the first 18 months of the PDPA's rule, they brutally enforced Marxist reforms, which went against the way Afghans had been living for centuries. The PDPA lasted even shorter than Daud, but then by September of the following year, the PDPA was overthrown by Hafizullah Amin. By October of 1979, Hafizullah Amin was killed by a Soviet invasion because he refused to follow the Soviet advice.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I am quite sure that in this time period there are many Afghan freedom fighters who made governing Afghanistan very difficult for the communist leaders.
Exactly. These freedom fighters are known as Mujahideen, and at first they were very, very poorly trained and armed. They were more like rebels. But after a while, after being trained by the Americans and armed and by all the other countries that were against the Soviets, they became a strong fighting force with a lot of arms. And they fought fiercely against the USSR until 1988, when the Geneva Accord was signed. This accord negotiated the withdrawal of the Soviet troops in Afghanistan, and which happened next year.
So did the Soviet withdrawal end the conflict in Afghanistan?
No, unfortunately it did not. Some say it became even worse. After the Soviets withdrew, the Mujahideen turned against each other and fought for a very, very long time. They fought fiercely, and many innocent lives were taken. This continued until the Taliban took control of Kabul in 1996. However, the Taliban were even worse. They had an awful regime and violated countless of human rights, in particular the women. On top of that, the Shia Hazara population was persecuted and killed. And in 2001, even statues of Buddhas were destroyed because they represented Afghanistan's pre-Islamic past.
How did the Western world react to this Taliban regime?
Well, The 9/11 terrorist attack was obviously a huge shock to the Western world, and when the terrorist Osama bin Laden was held responsible for this, and when it was known that the Taliban was keeping him hidden, the US and the UK launched an airstrikes on Afghanistan under the name of NATO. Missions were supposed to get rid of the Taliban and rebuild the country. However, during this time, Hamid Karzai was elected with a 55% majority, and this marked the first steps toward democracy. The Taliban's power has decreased a lot, but recently they have also crossed the borders into Pakistan.
I see. It is good to know that, like us Western countries have helped a troubled country like Afghanistan get back on the right path to democracy. Do you have any last words?
Well, I think it's a shame that the Russians and the Taliban took over the country, because they really brought the country to pieces. They ruined it.
Alright, that is a shame. Alright, thank you so much for such an interesting interview, and thanks for viewing.
Thank you.
See you.
This has been Channel 10 with our special Afghanistan news report, featuring Michiel Solvik in Afghanistan specialist, Go Asakura. Now, moving on to the sport news, Australia have beaten New Zealand in cricket by 7 wickets. And coming up soon, we will have a special news report on Libya and the current situation involving Gaddafi.
TEN's evening news is all about Queensland. It's all about the things that matter to us. It's all about the things that happen in our environment. No matter what time you get home, there'll be a news bulletin bring you right up to date.